I'd like to introduce to y'all Tracy. Tracy, a lot of you know her from Dr. Reiser's office. She's the occupational therapist there, as well as the executive director of the Tanner MS Center, and she's here for her presentation, and we look forward to hearing what she has to say.
Thank you. Thank you so much. As he said, my name is Tracy. Tracy, that's not actually a typo. I married John Tracy 15 years ago this coming Wednesday, so it was true love. I changed my name for him. I'm an occupational therapist at Neurorecovery, the Tanner Center for MS. I'm also an MS clinical specialist. I've been a therapist for about 19 years now. I can't believe it, it's flown. But I've always been interested in multiple sclerosis, neurological diseases. I've never been a therapist who liked orthopedic very much. I don't care for hips or knees or shoulder replacements. I think what really drew me to the neurological conditions, first off, is that I was seeing a lot of patients that were a lot like me, that had MS. They were young women, they had careers, they had lives, they had families. And I was really drawn to them, became friends with many of my clients, and I still am friends with many of my clients. I see a lot of familiar faces here, and that makes me feel better. But I really love the fact that I could see changes. Lots of what I didn't know the term a long time ago was neuroplasticity. People tend to just change very rapidly, more confidence, quicker with their walking. I could provide adaptive equipment to help them with this. So it was just real changes I could see right away, and that was very exciting, and it still continues that way for me. I'm here today to talk a lot about managing life, making it easier. I'm going to go into clutter management, fatigue, and I've brought some show and tell equipment too to show you all. So I've learned a lot over the last few years just working with the people, a lot of them sitting in this room, and I've taken a lot from the stories that they tell me and how they're able to manage. Everyone has different ways of doing things. I think it's fascinating. A big problem that we see is across the board, let me see if I can turn this on, is fatigue. I think probably everyone here has experienced or is experiencing, does experience some form of fatigue. I think it's around 90% of people with MS have fatigue. If I could think of a way to combat this, I think I would have solved a lot of your issues. But basically, we talk a lot in occupational therapy about management, energy saving techniques, strategies. There's all different ways to look at this. Unfortunately, for people who have multiple sclerosis, they're also dealing with many facets of fatigue. There can be cognitive fatigue, which can be really real. There can be muscle fatigue, so your hand tires or your foot tires, or there's just this heat-associated fatigue. So there's different levels of fatigue that you have to deal with, and sometimes they all three hit you at once. So we look at organization, how you arrange your environment, making things easier. We recently purchased a big iron skillet. My husband and I did. We've been doing a lot of cooking lately. And so just to make life easier, we just leave that thing right on the stove. We don't ever move it. We just clean it and stick it right back there. So just little things that you can do in your life. I encourage a lot of my clients to keep a diary, see what's particularly daunting to them, what makes them tired, if they can figure out what a trigger is. I really want to encourage my clients to make time to do those things that they want to do. Go see their child's softball game, or sit down and crochet, or whatever they might want to do. Sometimes when you work and you take care of your household, then those kinds of things can kind of be pressed aside because you're too tired. So ways that we can shave off energy during your day in order to make time for those things that really are meaningful to you. Talking to a therapist, an occupational therapist, a physical therapist about organization, maybe inviting them into your home so that they can look to see if there's anything that they can suggest or help you with in terms of getting those things under control. So there's just a few things listed here. If you'll just take a look at your environment and see what kinds of things you can do. Unnecessary effort. This is a huge thing. There's little ways you can learn to do daily tasks differently, such as just sitting to fold clothes. Perhaps that would help your energy stores some, help with your balance. Using paper dishes. I know that's not very environmentally friendly, but letting your dishes soak before you try to wash them. So just little things that then again a therapist could give you some ideas on what to do in order to help with your level of energy. Plan and prioritize. This is a big thing. I think sometimes when you have multiple sclerosis, you're also dealing with some cognitive issues. We see a lot of processing speed, problems with multitasking, problems with short-term memory. So this impacts how you're going to plan and prioritize and therefore leads to fatigue. So it's kind of a cyclical factor almost. We love to work with people as far as planning before you leave the house, getting things organized so that you're not spinning your wheels. One good thing one of my clients has been doing lately is Publix has a list, and I'm sure other grocery stores do as well, on their website of different items in different aisles. So she makes her grocery list based on what she needs in each aisle, so that way she's not left with a list where she's going from aisle to aisle trying to figure out what she might need. There's lots of new devices now, iPhones and different kinds of technological things that we can utilize in order to help us plan and prioritize. The best thing that I've done that my husband convinced me to do is hire a housekeeper, which is I know not everyone can do, but he's finally convinced me that paying that $75 once a month is very much worth it. It's what is your time worth, and budgeting for that in order so that I have a little more time with my family, then that is very much worth it. So looking at things like that, taking your friends up on their offers to help. If you have young children and someone wants to run them somewhere, then letting them do that in order for you to have more energy and more time for them later on. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about clutter. There is a study that was done out of NYU about clutter and MS, and they did find that there was more of a chance that people lived in clutter if they had multiple sclerosis, and I think that just speaks to the fact that the fatigue and the cognitive factors just kind of play into that, so that when you're tired and when you have difficulty with memory and you have difficulty with multitasking, then that is what would suffer. I had an interesting conversation with a woman this morning, actually, at the ballpark, whose mother had multiple sclerosis, and she felt like her mother lived in a lot of clutter, but it was more for the fact that her mobility was limited, so she wanted to keep everything as close to her as possible. That was her control. So I do think that's another possible reason why maybe we want everything next to us and suddenly it starts to gather and it takes too much energy to then clear it out, so then we're stuck with this. So it's interesting. There's lots of articles, there's lots of things on the internet, there's even a lot of TV shows that go through clutter management. I've done a little bit of this with some of my clients. I know even for me personally, it's very refreshing. I feel like I've gotten something done when I can clean out one drawer, or I can clean out the toys, the massive amount of toys. And as far as where to begin, that can often be the hardest part. I really encourage people to start slow, maybe do one shelf at a time, one drawer at a time. Just set your goals very, very low. Okay, and take it slowly, take it day by day. Maybe take 15 minutes each day, or maybe 15 minutes each week to tackle an area of your home that you might feel is mismanaged or needs some organization. And I try to focus mainly on myself getting organized before I start to push my family into that. I feel like it starts with me. If I can have a little bit of organization, then that way maybe perhaps they can follow in my footsteps. So there's several different ways that you can begin to organize. One way is to box and Vanish. So just getting a box or bags and putting everything, like a whole drawer or a whole counter, into a box or into a bag, and then sit down and systematically go through it, what you want to keep and what you want to give away. And that way you're not standing, you're not wasting your energy. You can do it while you watch TV or multitask, talk to someone on the phone, but it's getting done. There's also a 4-box method. Really, it's 3 boxes and a trash bag. So you make 1 box trash, 1 box to sell, 1 box to give away, and 1 box to keep. Okay, so you're actually going through, and you can do those even with small drawers, small counter spaces. It doesn't have to be a massive room that you do all at once. And a lot of people take the penicillin effect. They pretty much will say to themselves that once 1 space is cleared of their clutter, then pretend like it's inoculated and nothing else can touch that space. You want to keep it clean and check on that space as much as you can throughout the day to make sure that there's nothing is grown there in your absence. So you can give yourself areas in your home where you can allow clutter in a manageable way. You know, don't make it completely impossible that you're working so much all the time to keep your house organized that it's frustrating. You can have a certain area, like maybe by the phone, or a certain drawer, junk drawer, as long as you will go back to that drawer to clean out later on. Setting a routine, this is huge. This is really big for people who have short-term memory issues. You know, it was interesting. I had a client talking the other day that when you want a fork or you want a spoon or you want a knife, you know exactly where that is. But ask me where a pair of fingernail clippers are in my house, and 2 hours later and many arguments, I finally have found them. So everything needs a space. So when you get done with something, say when you walk in the door, you have your keys, you know where you put your keys, you put them in that one particular location, you have your glasses in a location, you have everything has a particular space. Work on that with yourself, and then try to get your family to come in and do the exact same thing. There's a rule called 1 in and 1 out. This is a rule that a lot of people use. Say you buy a new magazine, then you have to toss another one out. I am extremely guilty of this. I have magazines upon magazines that I just know one day I'm going to read. But definitely that can lead to a lot of clutter and disorganization and make it difficult. Another thought is borrow it or rent it. If you need something, borrow it from a friend. If you need a dress, borrow it from a friend. You don't have to go buy one that hangs in your closet then. Or a book, go to the library. We all have missed the library. I guess with our Kindles, we have a lot more now access to books. But if you need a pressure washer or a particular piece of equipment, rather than buying it and it sitting in your garage, rent it so that way you don't have to worry about it later on and maintaining it. So there's also a bunch of equipment out there that we can utilize to help us get organized, help us with fatigue, help us feel safe, more confident when we're walking. And every day it seems like there's more and more put out there. We have started using a lot of this equipment in our clinic. There's a lot out there on the internet too that I'm interested in, that I thought I'd share a little bit of it with you today. Just because you need a piece of equipment doesn't mean that you're changing in your status. The hardest thing for us as a therapist when we see people is perhaps we are watching you walk and we see the energy that you're expending walking, and we want to make you have more energy throughout your day. So perhaps then we're going to be suggesting a different piece of equipment for you to use. It doesn't mean that necessarily you've changed in status. It just might be the newest or latest piece of equipment that we've seen how people have been able to do more because they're using certain pieces of equipment. I know a lot of you have multiple pieces of equipment in your home that I'm sure you fish out from time to time today I'm feeling a little weak, I might use this cane. Tomorrow I might need to use this walker. It's always good to go back to your physical therapist and your occupational therapist, wade through that equipment, sure everything fits you still, make sure if it was grandma's walker that's what's really appropriate to you, and making sure that's the latest and what you need to be using rather than guessing each day as you go. So one piece of equipment, I'm going to just kind of go through some of the new pieces of equipment that perhaps you guys might not be as familiar with, is the hip flexion assisted device. It's for people who have trouble with leg swing that might have weakness in their hip flexor. Then again, it just helps to pick up the foot more so that you get a better swing and it's easier for you to walk. It uses less energy when you use something like this. So the way this piece of equipment works is it goes around your waist, okay? And these two leads go down your leg, the leg that's weak, and you can wear them on both legs if you need to. And then this clip right here hooks to your shoe. So as you're walking, it helps to swing your hips so that your hips clear, and it also helps with foot drop that so many people have. This can be worn in conjunction with AFOs, which are foot braces, or the BioNests or the Walk Aid, which we'll talk about in a minute. So it can be used in conjunction with this. So many times people have problems with walking. The majority of problems that we see with ambulation has to do with weakness in the hip flexors or weakness with the ankles. So both of these two pieces of equipment, the hip flexion assistive device can help with that, as well as an AFO or a piece of equipment for the foot. This is a U-step walker. This is a newer walker. It works opposite probably from the walkers that you all are used to. You have to actually push the handles to make it go rather than letting go and it stops. So it is really nice because it's nice and heavy and durable. So if you have issues as far as your walker getting out away from you because your core strength is not what it should be, or perhaps you have some ataxia, some incoordination when you walk, this is nice and heavy, and it's really a stabilizing force with many people. It has some interesting features to it. It has an actual laser to cue you. So if you have difficulty staying up in your walker, it will cue you to step to the laser. So that way you're taking nice big steps and you're staying within the range that you need to be. It also has a metronome that it actually makes a sound so that your steps are nice and even, and so that it's used to retrain your brain to actually increase your walking speed. So it's a really nice walker. It might look a little invasive, but once we've had a lot of people that have tried it out and they really do like it. They feel more steady with it. It is more expensive than your regular walkers, but we've had good success getting insurance to cover it now. I think it's getting more known, and it's really good going over curves as well. There's something called liftwear, which I actually do not have one here with me to show you all, but I did include the link to the website. It's really interesting. It's a piece of equipment that has that's used on a fork or a knife. So if you're having coordination issues or if you have any tremors, this is a good piece of equipment. On the end of the utensil, it has a mechanism that's used to steady cameras. So it actually steadies the fork or spoon so that you're able to easily bring it to your mouth, which is amazing. On this website, they have a video of the woman feeding herself peas. So it's very impressive. I have not seen a piece of equipment like this, and you interchange the spoon and the fork out so you can use the piece with either one. Liftwear also has other products. One product that I think is really interesting is they use Bluetooth technology in order to work with your cadence, sort of what we were talking about with the U-Step walker. They will give you like a metronome or a beat in order to help with your cadence, and you'll hear it, just you will hear it in your Bluetooth as you're walking. They also have an app that we use in the clinic a lot that can judge your tremors. And it's pretty amazing because I'll have a client just hold the phone and it registers how much tremors they have. We used to not really be able to see if we're able to change tremors, but now we know by strengthening the core, back muscles, and strengthening the arm muscles, we can make a difference in how much someone shakes. So it's been very rewarding. So they're an interesting group of scientists and engineers who are putting together really interesting things. The balanced body torso weight vest. This is my favorite. And actually, on Motion Therapeutics website, there is several videos. Sanjay Gupta, who actually reported on the effects of this vest with a client with MS, and that video is on their website. So this is a vest that was developed by a physical therapist, Cindy Horn, who actually was kind enough to come to Alabama and do a class for us here. We invited several people in the state, and we actually invited some people in Mississippi because it was coming to our attention that the only people that were certified to do this vest were in Kentucky, and people were traveling all over the Southeast. Well, now we have people coming to our clinic and to some of the other clinics that are certified in order to get this vest from all over. This vest is pretty amazing. So we've been doing weighted kind of therapy for a while, but we didn't have the technology that we do now. So what you do is if you're having any sort of balance problems, and it can be minor, say you just fall a little bit, or to the extreme that you're falling a lot and you have some ataxia, some incoordination in your trunk, this works for it all. This also has kind of an off effect of helping with vestibular, with dizziness, nystagmus in your eyes, and it also helps with fine motor coordination. Now, I don't know that I'd necessarily recommend you wear this vest just for fine motor coordination, but it does help if you have balance issues. It will address some of those issues as well. So you would go to a physical therapist who is certified in how to measure you for this. And basically what she's going to do is look to see where your imbalances lie in your body. We look at trunk rotation, and we look at pelvis to see exactly what is weak. And then you counterweight. Based on the area that's weak, you would counterweight the other side. And when I say weight, they're tiny, tiny weights. 1/2 pound to 1/4 pound of weight. The most weight you would ever have on your body at any one time would be 2 pounds. So not an extreme amount of weight. This vest you would use in the clinic. This is just our trial vest. If you liked the vest and you felt like it helped you, you would get your own vest custom made that you wouldn't, the weights are sewn in. And it's just a nice black zip up, sleek vest that you wear. A good thing about this vest is you don't have to wear it all the time. You actually are retraining your somatosensory system so that you'll get the benefits from it even when you're not wearing it. So it's kind of a therapeutic tool. So this piece of equipment has been very helpful and very promising to a lot of people who have balance issues. So look on that website and look at the videos. I think y'all be interested. All right, so here's some pieces of equipment that you're probably all familiar with, but they're definitely worth mentioning. The BioNests or the Walk Aid. Those are two different machines that actually stimulate the peroneal nerve in order to dorsiflex your foot, in order to flex your foot up so that you can clear to walk. So when you have foot drop in particular, these things can be life-changing. They're kind of the more technological therapy rather than the brace. This would be something to try with a therapist. They both have different mechanisms, but very similar in what they do. This is particularly is the Walk Aid, and it just is a cuff that straps to your foot. I think there's some people around here who have the BioNests as well, which is a strap that also has a hill switch in your shoe. They both work the same way, the same kind of concept as the weighted vest, that it actually stimulates that nerve, and then it actually retrains. So you get some retraining benefit from these. Oftentimes when you just brace someone, then you're really not doing any sort of retraining with that. So it's worth it to see if you would respond to this. If you are having foot drop, we still are working with all these things on insurance coverage. So it can be difficult to get, but your therapist can work with you as far as that goes. We use a lot of things in our clinic, such as a TENS garment. We use this if you're having sensory issues. It was used for lymphedema a lot, but these sometimes can cut down if you're having difficulty sleeping at night because you're having tingling or numbness in your legs or in your arms. This is a good thing to try. We also use a TENS glove. With the TENS unit, we've got some good success with this. So if you have a numb hand, we also have a sock too, or a numb foot, we can put this on. Sometimes it will change the noxiousness of the tingling and numbness. It makes it better so that you can actually feel stuff. Then again, it's just to try and see if it works. But we've had some success with it with people who have dysthesias and things like that from multiple sclerosis. Of course, there's the old adaptive equipment that I'm sure everyone's familiar with. This is not an invisible dog, but it's actually a leg lift. So if you're having issues getting your foot in and out of the toilet or issues getting it in and out of the bed, then you would just use this to lift your foot, okay? We have the reacher, sock aid. I don't have the sock aid with me, and the dressing stick and the shoe horn. So these are all things to help you really if you're having difficulty bending down to get dressed, bending down to pick things up. This can help you take off your sock, but it can also help you put on your shirt if you're limited in range of motion with your arms, okay? So there's equipment out there that can help you in terms of staying more functional, getting dressed by yourself. There's all kinds of bathroom and bedroom adaptive equipment. We use a lot of bed canes, which are just small bed rails on the side of the bed for people having difficulty getting in and out of bed. In the bathroom, I have a lot of people who like the thought of changing, completely remodeling their bathroom. Most of the time, what I would suggest is, number one, get an occupational therapist to come look to see. We can even help you with where to put the grab bars. But most of the time, if you have a bathtub, the best thing you can do rather than rip that bathtub out is to get a transfer tub bench that actually comes out over the bathtub that you can sit in and slide over. Much easier. They run around $85. Unfortunately, insurance does think that baths are luxuries, so they don't always pay for those items, but they don't pay for you to remodel your bathroom either, which would be probably closer to $10,000. So very helpful. Those kinds of things are great to just kind of stick in your bathtub, and I don't see a lot of falls from them at all. We have people who use ski poles for ambulation. A lot of younger clients are not ready for a walker, or they just don't like the way it looks. So ski poles are an option as far as mobility goes, either just using one or using both. Segways, I love these. I wish there was more of them around. But essentially, you have to have a lot of core strength, stomach and back strength to stand on those things, but they can be great. We have a couple of gentlemen, I think, that live here in Alabama that use them. I see them out sometimes. But a lot of people will use them at their work just to get from one place to the other, just due to fatigue or any kind of mobility issues. So those are kind of neat. And then there's Sure Hands. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Sure Hands. They're the entire lift system that goes around. They put tracks in every room. so that if you're not able to transfer, you can use a Hoyer sling to get from room to room, bathroom in your house. Sure Hands is a great program with that, and they offer some financial assistance. So here are 2 links to 2 different things that are really unique. Sorry. The Baytech Trike is pretty interesting. I don't have anyone that has that yet, but some clients have brought these 2 pieces of equipment to our attention. I just gave you the website just in case you wanted to see what was out there. But it's basically a motorized part that actually hooks on to the front of your wheelchair so that then you can just use it almost like not a motorcycle, like a trike kind of motorized piece. So if you're not ready for power mobility or you don't necessarily need a scooter, this would be a really quick, good option. And then there's this compact vehicle that's really interesting. It looks like a little smart car that you actually, if you're in power mobility, you just roll right into the car and drive away. It's really cute. It just kind of encases you. So that, I think they're looking at that a lot more in Europe right now. I think there's a couple of them out on the market in Europe, but they're really interesting. And I just wanted you to know that they were out there. So, just thinking about in terms of equipment, organization, fatigue, I know all of it sounds daunting, but therapists are available always. Most of you that have insurance are covered for physical therapy or occupational therapy visits. Please use us, even if it's just coming up with strategies in terms of how to organize your house or what kind of adaptive equipment you might need or ways to get around better, ways to conserve your energy. We're here. Just utilize us as often as you can. So thank you. Thank you so much for allowing me to come.
All right, so now we're going to go around the room again, another Q&A, all right? Ken's going to be on that side, I'm going to be on this side, and the same rules apply. Try to keep it general, okay? And 1 question each until we can get around the room. You already had your question. Next. Joking. All right, Ken's up first, and then I'm going to get to this person here. All right, I'm up first.
Hold it close.
Okay, about a week ago or so, I was doing some stuff from physical therapy, and I didn't have a weight machine or anything, so I had a pair of 3-pound weights, ankle weights. I didn't want 3 pound, but that's all they had. They didn't have anything anything lighter. Yeah, so I put them on, and I just happened to decide, well, I've got to walk to somewhere in the house. And I started walking, and my balance was better.
I bet you'd be a really interesting candidate for the balance weighted vest. I'm not surprised. Sometimes if you have sensory issues, we'll put like weighted items on a limb in order to better balance you.
Well, I'm going to try 1 pound weights first.
There you go. There you go. There's also TheraBand that a therapist could give you that's varying resistance. Those are good if you don't want to buy multiple weights.
You got a question down there?
Good.
No?
No hard questions.
Okay, I got one coming here. By the way, everybody, after we're finished with this Q&A, we'll be doing the Social Security Disability Income, okay?
Hey, Tracy, if you are having like electrical shocks in your thigh, would the TENS unit or something like that be helpful?
We can give it a try. I've really seen it mainly the garments are better in terms of surrounding it and then being able to better work on that sensory kind of issues. But I mean, it's worth trying just to surround the area that you're having the tingling and numbness and see what it can do. It certainly can't hurt. Tensor grip is another option. If you wanted a piece of tensor grip to cover it to see if maybe that light compression could control some of that.
I have a question for you. Maybe it'll be of interest for some. What do you do for people with vertigo?
Oh, that's kind of my love right now. So I do a lot of vision therapy. That's just the way we've split it up in terms of our clinic, but a physical therapist can do it as well. We do retraining, so we look a lot at actually retraining the ocular motor muscles. So we do some eye exercises. We incorporate some balance in with the eye exercises, because lots of times people are having trouble, turning their head when they're in the supermarket, or trouble with night driving, things like that. So we work at that. Some part of the visual rehabilitation has to do with habituation. So we're trying to get you dizzy and then get you used to being dizzy and how you deal with it once you're dizzy. So it's strengthening some of the eye muscles, but it's also retraining what you do and how you feel when you're dizzy. And then we get you more used to it.
By the way, at the end, thank you for that answer. By the way, at the end of this program, before we get to the next question, we're going to be doing the raffles. And at the raffles, we have 3 T-shirts that says, "I'm not drunk, I have MS." All right? And this is at the end of this program, all right? And then also we have the tablet that we'll be raffling off. And we have a nice gym bag, beach bag, whatever we want to use it for, all right? All right. Is there a question down there? You don't have a question down there? Any more questions over here? Okay.
Hey, Tracy. This is Michelle.
Okay.
Okay. Look, I just want to know about massage therapy. Would that be part of...
I think it's great. I mean, massage therapy is great as far as circulation goes. With spasticity, it can kind of bring some relief. It's not long-lasting, so when you get a massage, you have to continue intensely stretching your daily stretches in the morning and the afternoon. But there is nothing wrong with a massage, for sure.
Does the insurance pay for that at any point?
No.
No.
No, but your physical therapist can also do a thing called myofascial release, which I do with a lot of people, and that is covered by insurance. So that's something to look into.
Over here, Tracy.
Can this vest be used to help treat chronic back pain, for people that are still working and
It's not really any kind of support system there is a piece that you can sometimes put with this, a TLSO, that does give you a little bit more support, but it probably wouldn't necessarily cure the pain. It could strengthen, like if your pain was due to abnormalities in your posture, then it could perhaps correct that, thus leading to less back pain. So it might be worth a try as far as that goes, to retrain.
Next question's over here.
Hey, Tracy.
Hey.
No, this is just kind of an FYI for everybody.
Good.
I used this week and it was awesome. If you go on Walmart.com, they have the Walmarts now that you just go online, order. They've got all your groceries online. You order them online, tell them what time you want to pick them up. You drive up to the store. They have the pickup. They have the phone number right there. You call them.
Oh, that's incredible.
They bring it out within 2 minutes. She
Fabulous.
brought it out. They load it in my car, everything. It was awesome.
That's great.
I mean,
and that's well worth. I mean, that's
Yes.
time well saved so that you have energy somewhere
and
else.
it's for everybody. You don't have to have a disability.
That's
it's
incredible.
for everybody. But it was great.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
That's really great.
It was great.
See, I learned so much from these kind of programs.
Any other questions? No other questions?
Thank you guys so much.
Well, then thank you, Tracy,
Yes,
for
so
being
fun.
here.